Mesechta Menochos Daf Yud Daled Amud Aleph. We're starting from Yud Gimel Amud Beis, around 14 lines in the bottom of the Mishnah. Shachat Shnei Kvosim Lechol Achas Min Hachalis Lemocha. In order to be mated, the Shnei Hachalis, or they had the Kivsei Hatzeres, which was 2 Kvosim. So he shechted the 2 Kvosim, the 2 Shepselach on Shvuis, with the intention to be able to eat from the chalis, but not today. Weiter the ketog, he's saving it for a bar mitzvah day. So then it's pigel. So too, hikte shnei bazichin. The shnei bazichin were 2 spoons with ketores, which was on the shulchan. In order to be mater, the chalis on the shulchan, they had to be mater the shnei baziche, the 2 spoons of the ketores on the mizbeach. So what happened? He was makted the Shnei Bazichin, but when he was being makted, he had aldas, he had intention, lechel, echad min asdorim, lemocha. He had in mind that one of the set of the 6 chalis, he's going to eat it after a lot of time. That means tomorrow. And he's supposed to eat it that day. So that's pigel. So Rabbi Yossi, there's zelbeke chala, was said, gehat pigel. There was 2 chalas. Only on 1 challah he had in mind to eat it after the right time, after the allotted time.
It was 12 chalas, right?
There's 2 chalas, and then there's also by the shulchan there was 2 zdarim, 6 and 6, 12 chalas. But here you had 2 chalas, and the 2 chalas that he was only mefagel. He had the machshavas of pigel that to eat it after the allotted time only on 1 of the chalas. Or by the shulchan, by the Shnei Baziche, when he was burning the Shnei Baziche, he had in mind to eat only 1 seder, only 6 of the chalas after the allotted time. So he says the one oisach seder, the oisach chala, oisach seder, der chala, der seder, shechisha Allah, that the pigel that he had, the machshavas pigel, if he eats it, is v'chayom olav koris. You're going to be chayiv koris. But the hasheni, the one that he didn't have, the machshavas pigel, is just possible. There's no chiyuv of koris. Acham meimim. Come on, you know, I don't care 1 challah, it transfers to the second challah automatically, or the 1 seder transfers to the other seder, and all 12 challahs are going to be possible. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna had said, Oima hoya Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi said, Pigel by yerech shel yamin, lo nispali yerech shel smell. By behema, there are 2 sides. There's the left side, there's the right side, 2 pulkis, they have 2 sides. Yeah, so you have the right and the left. So if he had a machshavas psul, only on the right, the yerech, not on the left. So he says the left didn't become pigel. That's what Rabbi Yossi said. So my time, what's taka the reasoning? Ibay say misvara, Ibay say mikra. Others say it's a pasik, svara, others say it's a pasik. Ibay say misvara, others say it's a svara. What's the svara? Lo yadif machshav m'maisa tuma. It shouldn't be worse than tuma. When you metame 1 side, then automatically the other side is tame. The pieces we're talking about here already cut it into pieces. So he touched the right yerech, automatically the left yerech is tame. No. So if he was matame, he purified only 1 of the sides. Does automatically this other side become impure? If it's so, the same thing by the challah. He was only mefagel 1 set of challahs, so he shouldn't automatically be matame. I mean, say be mefagel the other. He by saying others say it's a possible. It says when it gave to the kares. It says the lashon mimena. The mimena is extra. What does mimena come to teach us? Only that eva which he had in mind to eat chutz lizmani that he had to. That's the one that's pigol. But not on the achila of the other eva which he didn't have the machshavas pigol. Rav Nachman is the shayt Rav Huna from the following brayse. It says by the machshavas pigol of the korban of shtei alechem. It says le'oila mei b'chiyuv kares. There's never a chiyuv kares. Till if he had in mind a machshavas pigol on kazayis of the 2 chalas together, then the 2 chalas become possible. In no. Look, if he had a machshavas pigol on 1 kazayis of both chalas, then both chalas can become pigul. But if he only had a size on one of the challahs to eat it after a lot of time, like the psula pigul is not chal on the next one. It's only on that one. In fact, you want money. Like whom is this brisa following? If you're going to say it follows the Rabbanon say automatically even if you had pigul on one of them, automatically the other one becomes pigul. Let's just make a bracha. So in fact, if it's going on the Rabbanon say even if he had pigul in one of the chalis or one of the sidarim, nami, it already becomes, both of them become pigul. It cannot follow. It cannot follow the Rabbanan, because when you said he had to have a machshavas pigul b'shteihem, according to Rabbanan, you can even have be'achas. So El Pshita Rabbi Yossi. It's only Rabbi Yossi. Says the Gemara. If you're going to say by the behema, and you say by the two yerach, two pulkas up, really one. It's really like it's from one behema. It's like one guf, Leitinyan pigul. That if he had a mind after the allotted to eat it after the allotted time, on one of them, I'm going to say all day but it become pigul. Mishum hachin etzaref. Then I understand why Rabbi Yossi says if you had the machshava of one kezayis of both breads, consisting of both breads, the kezayis, then both of them will become tamei. Because madoch, by if it's in one guf, it becomes but since in one guf it becomes tamei by the two yerachim. So too, if you made a machshava to be make a pigul on both chalis consisting of kezayis together, then both will become a pigul. Up to the top. But if you're going to say according to Rabbi Yossi that by the zait and trei gufininu, it's two separate things. So if by the guf, where it's mamish part of one guf, and you still say it's two separate, mimitzafi by two chalis, it's two separate chalis, or two different sets of 6 of chalis. Yes, and it's the machshava. You want to put it together. Mimitzafi, will the machshava put them together? If by the guf is where it comes from one guf, you say it's two halakim for sure. Zwei pulkas from the ein behema, and you say it's still two halakim. No, lav dafka. It's a different take. It's 6 and 6. It's so many chalas. Lav dafka. Yeah. Zog the Gemara, Hamani. Who's the Mishnah following? Rabbi. The Tanya that we learned in Abraisa. Hashochet es hakeves. The first shepsel. There's 2 shepsel for the Shalmei Atzeres. And he had in mind when he did one keves, because the keves is matter to eat it when you shecht it. He had in mind when he shechted one keves, which is only a chatzi matter, lechel chatzi zayis mechalazut. He only a half a zayis from this challah. And then when he shechted the chein chaveda, when he shechted the second keves, lechel chatzi zayis mechalazut from the other challah. Says the Rabbi says, Oimani shekam zer kosher. I say it's kosher. We're not mitzdarif. Taimo, because the Oma Chatzi Zayis and Chatzi, because he said Chatzi.
Two different things.
Yes, because he said Chatzi. It's not because he used the Lashon half shear. Every time he had a Machshavas Pigul, he only had a Machshavas Pigul on a Chatzi. Says the Gemara, how about Avali Mama Kizayis Mishtayim? He says by each time he shechted, he says, I'm having in mind for a full Kizayis, but from 2 chalas together. And so each one, when he shechted, he had in mind a full. He had in mind nicht a chatzis chatz from them, but he had in mind a full share. So aval oma kizayis mishtayim arizay. So we say it is mitzdarif. So that's the shita of Rabbi Meir. I'm sorry, Rabbi. We want to say that follows Rabbi. Rabbi says if he had in mind mishtayim, it'll be good if he had in mind that it should be a kizayis mishtayim. Where does Rabbi get his shita from? If you're going to say he follows the shitas of the Chachamim, why do you have to say it was a kezayis from from both chalas together? Even if it was a kezayis of one chala itself, it would both chalas would become pigul. And if it's going according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi says, by a behemoth, which comes from one guf, it's 2 halakim, so, and you can't make a pigul on both. So for sure, when his machshava can't be mitzdarif two chalis, which is two entities. Says Gemara, really it follows the shita of the Abana. We asked, according to Abana, even the kazayas of one chala is enough to make pigul on both chalas. He says, B'shtein is a lashon nikeva. B'shtein means it goes on the chalas. Now, his kavanah wasn't a kazayas b'shtein on two chalas. No, it means that he had the Nesheves pigul b'shtein on the carbon on both on the both behemoths, not on the both chalas. So he says on the Shnei Kivsei Hatzeres it was referring to. But even if his machshava was only on the kazayis on one of the chalas, it will be the din would be that it will be pigul on both. He's coming to exclude for Ameya. He says you can even have machshavas pigul and it'll be chal even if he had machshavas pigul by one of the Kivsei Hatzeres. You don't need both. And so he's come to exclude from him. Kamash Malam. So that's why the Tanis come to teach us like the Chachamim, who argue on the Abmeya and say, Deloy. It's not going to be Chal unless he had the Machshavas Pigul by both Kivsei of the Atzeres. But nicht, but the Machshava, what was the Pigul on one Chala, on a Kazais of one Chala. And what does it mean? B'shneiyan. That it means the two Kivsei Atzeres, he had the Machshavas a pigul by the when he was shechting the behemoths, both behemoths. In fact, if so, my lo'ilam. Why'd you have to say the word lo'ilam? Just say that aim by karas hachi yifagal b'shnei. What do you have to say? Lo'ilam. What's lo'ilam? The yamid b'shleima b'shteim. That's referring to both, meaning the two chales ub'shneim, and it's referring to the two kvasim that Yisai have to have a machshava by both Kivsei Atzeres and by the Chalas. And it follows Rabbi Yossi that Machshavas Pigul on one of the Chalas is not going to be able to be Mefagel the other. That's why you need a Machshav on both Chalas. And to exclude from Ameya, Abanan, the Ka'asi, that he's coming to tell you that one is not good. You buy the Kivsei Atzeres, you have to have a Machshavas Pigul by both Kivsei Atzeres. So I know the Kabbalah Eilam. That's why he added Leilam to tell you he's excluding from two places. But if you say Al Mishnah follows the Abana that you don't need a machshava of two chalis to combine the two chalis, so it's only lafuk Rameya, and you're only coming to exclude from Rameya that you have to have machshava by two Kivsei Atzeres and not by one. My Leilam. Why do you need the word Leilam? It's extra. Hey. Ravashi himself said, Toshma, we're going to now bring again against the additional Rai from Rav Huna. If somebody had pigul by something that's done on the outside, or pigul b'davar nas b'fnim, or he had a machshavas pigul by something that's done b'fnim. Loy pigul, it's not pigul. So I didn't explain what it is. So now he's going to tell you this. I'll tell you outside, and then I will say it inside. What does it mean that he had a pigul b'davar nas b'chutz? He was standing inside, let's say by the zika, and he had in mind to pour out the shadaim of the dam, which has to go outside. It's not pigul because he's standing inside, and the machshavas pigul was for the outside. Or if he was standing outside, by the shechita, he had in mind to spray the blood inside the heichal lachazman. So then that's not pigul because he's standing outside, and the machshavas pigul is going on the inside. The only time pigul will be chal if he's standing outside and he has a machshavas pigul outside. But everything has to be in the same place. Wherever he's doing the avodah, having the mind of pigul has to be in the same place. But if it's different place, if he's doing the avodah in one place and the pigul's in another place, it's not going to be chal. Now, it's not pickles. Yes, says you want to ketzad. So he said like this: he was standing outside the azara. He's shechting now outside in the azara. Almanas with the condition lahazis midamei. Where is he to spray from the blood? ala pareiches. That's in the heichal lamacha. So the Machshavas Pigel, he was shechting outside in the Azara, and he says Almanas that from that blood I'm taking from the shechita to spray inside the heichal, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Like Pigel, that's not Pigel because it's not in the same place. Lefi Machshava was in the time when he was doing Avodah Bechutz. About something, he was shechting, he was standing like chutz and having a Machshavas Pigel with something that's nasa b'fnim. Now the reverse, he was standing inside the heichal. The Omar, and he says, "Hareini maza, I'm going to spray from the carbon. Almanas lahakte murim. I'm spraying now inside the heichal. And why is he spraying in the heichal? I'm having in mind to burn the murim, which is going to be outside of the Mizbeach HaChitzayin, outside the heichal lemacha. That's where the pigel went. Where did he have Machshavas Pigel? In the heichal. For what did he have Machshavas Pigel? For the murim, which is burnt outside. The lishbech shiraim, or he had in mind to spray the leftover blood to put it outside by the Mizbeach HaChitzayin after the allotted time. Lemacha, he says. It's not a pigel. The machshava was where in the time when he was doing the avodah b'fnim, and what was the pigel? B'dava hanas b'chutz. A pigel wasn't something that he was going to do outside. So this is going to be pigel now. If he's standing outside, the Oman, he says, "Harini shoichet." Behold, I'm going to shech the carbon. Almanas lishbech shirayim. Lemacha, but where's the shiraim going? Also outside. Both are outside. He's shechting outside, and so then he says it's pigel. Lemacha, or he says I'm going to burn the imunim, which is also on the Mizbeach HaChitzayin during the shechita, which was out during the avodah of shechita outside, and he says lemacha, he has a Machshavas Pigel. So he says pigel shekein zuma shav b'chutz b'davar anas b'chutz, because this is a machshava that he had during the avodah b'chutz about something that he's going to do b'chutz, about achila b'chutz. So then it's going to be pigel. Lishma shirayim, says the Gemara, if he had a mind while pouring out the leftover blood for after this man, what is it going to? Which part of the cup will become pigel? If he had in mind to the leftover blood to put it a day later, what becomes affected by that? With that pigel, is it going? What is becoming possible? The dam? He wants to know what he took instead of the dam throwing the leftover dam that day. He's having to do it tomorrow. So what became pigel? Even can say the dam became pigel. Dam mifagel. Could the dam become pigel? But now we learned in the Mishnah. These are the things that are not chayv mishum pigel. Hakoymetz. He's going to tell you anything. We had this before. Anything that doesn't make something else mutter, if it's not becoming mutter from something else, then it cannot become pigel. Koimetz makes the shirayim mutter. When you do kmitza, you can eat the leftover from the mincha. But the koimetz itself, there's nothing being matter the koimetz. And the dam, by the spray of the dam, allows you to eat from the carbon. But is there anything being matter the dam? No. So anything that's not being matter it does not become pigel. So now these are the cases. HaKoimetz, there's nothing to be matter the koimetz, it doesn't become pigel. The levena is part of what's being matter the leftover of the mincha, the kteris. There's nothing being matter the kteris, so it doesn't become pigel. The hakteris of every day that they were matter kteris doesn't become pigel. Minchas koyanim, which is completely burned on the mizbeach, there's nothing that's matter. To minchas nesachim that was done in the morning and in the night and the evening. One second, minchas nesachim. I'll just tell you. No, these are the oilas behema shlam v'chatas mitzera, where the Torah says to be makav minchas soiles and menis chayayin. So the minchas nesachim is not. There's no kmitz on that. And minchas koyim mashiach, which is sacrificed in the morning and in the evening. So these do not become pigel. It's not shah. The mincha, the kohen gadol was makiv every day machzisa ba'beika, machzisa ba'erev. That was the Minchas Kohen HaMashiach. V'hadam. And here you see, blood cannot either become pigul. So when he took the shirayim, the leftover blood, and he had in mind to pour it the next day, which was pigul, what became pigul? It cannot be the dam. Says, you want to shita only for shuli paguli basa. For sure the meat became pigul. So you see, you're having machshavas pigul on one thing, and the other thing becomes pigul. You had machshavas pigul by dam, and what's becoming a puzzle mitzad pigul? The basar. So Hashta says, Gemara Kavachim Ma Hasan Mad by the basar. The loichal shebei b'basar gufei, that he didn't have a machshavas pigul in the meat itself, and only the machshavas pigul was in the dam, and the basar became pigul. Rabbi Yossi Mefagel, Rabbi Yossi Mefagel, that the basar becomes pigul. Hacha, in our case, where you had a mind for the pigul to be mefagel, the right thigh. The chashav be'bezevach gufa, you had a mind in the behemoth itself, not in the dam. So like koshkein the pigul b'yerech yamin, for sure it should become the right side should also become pigul. Pigul, the pigul meaning the machshava, pigul should be even be yerech smile. I'm sorry, if you had machshavas a pigul, I'm sorry, like koshkein the pigul b'yerech yamin, pigul b'yerech smiles for sure. Madoch, when he had machshavas pigul in the dam, the basa became pigul. Here, when by the two yerachs, which comes from the same behema, for sure, if he had a mind by the yerach yamin, the yerach small should become pigul. Another kasha. Rabbi Yossi, according to Rabbi Ravina said, because Rabbi Yossi said it doesn't transfer to the next. The Ravina, Tashma, come on here. Another kasha on Rabbi Huna for the beginning, for the Mishnah of the beginning of our Perek. It says, if he's komitz the mincha with the intention to eat the shirayim or lahakta kumtza lemacha after the zman. Moed Rabbi Yossi bazur shepigal. Chayav malar koris. Rabbi Yossi agrees in this case it's mamish pigul and he's chayav koris. Says you want to lahakta kumtza lipalugemai lipagule. When he's burning the kmitza with the machshava to burn the kmitza after that in the normal time, what became pigul? It can be the kmitza because kmitza is one of the things that cannot become pigul. Pagule koimetz. Koimetz mean bepagel. What's not? So you see, koimetz cannot become pigul. So what's becoming pigul in our Mishnah? That the shirayim is going to become pigul, even though the machshavas pigul was on the kmitza. So hashto kavachem amahas and the loy chashabu b'shirayim gufei by the shirayim itself, it didn't become pigul, but and he had where was machshav in the kmitza, but in pagli the shirayim become pigul. Hacha the chashav be'bezivcha gufei. Here in the behema itself, on the right yerech, he had machshavas pigul, like kol shekain that the left should also become pigul. Zakasha Rav Huna Rabbi Yossi, who says it doesn't transfer to the left. Elam Rabbi Yochanan Haino Taima. Only Rabbi Yochanan says this is the reasoning of these two contradictory in cases in Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi by Shtei Alechem is exception. Shtei Alechem and the Lechma Ponim, that's an exception because there's two psukim. One pasuk says it's considered as one guf, and then there's another pasuk that says it's considered as two gufim. So we have to explain. Kos of us on guf. In one place it says that the Shtei Alechem is like one guf. And then we find that the Torah makes it like two gufim. Where do we see that? Guf echad. Where do we see that the Torah made the Shtei Alechem like one guf? Because we find the ma'akve adadi, the Shtei Alechem is ma'akiv one another. That one cannot become kosher without the other. You need, it has to be together, like you just said. It says by them, taviu lechem tnufa shtayim has to be together too. Shtei chalis or shnei yisayim has to be a yisadim for each chala. It's mashma only if it's shtayim, not one. So it comes together. It's one guf, and then where do we see it? Shnei gufim. Shnei gufin, the Amir Achmanu, the Torah says, that that each one is done on its own. Each one of the chalais have to be separately kneaded, geknoten, and also each one is placed separately on the maracha. So therefore, benegay to pigul, sometimes you find it's like one goof. It's together as one. It's ma'akin one another, and it can only be brought as two. And then sometimes we find as two separate. That has to be kneaded separately. Each one has to be placed on the maracha separately. So it says Gemara Arvinu. So how do we explain the two stitas? So he says Arvinu, if in his machshava he had a machshava to eat a kezais from both chalois chutz lizmanon, the misarvin, then they have a din like one goof. The kosuv asan gufach, then the teremeter has one goof. But palginu, but if he had separate machshavas to eat only one at a time, chutz lizmana mipalgi, then they are if he only had it by one of them, to eat it lachazman, so it's two separate gufim. Not kosuv asan shnei gufim. So we see the exception was by chales, but normally by yerech, it would transfer to the other one. Both of them would become pigul. But Rabbi Yochanan is shaila pigul if he had machshavas pigul. By lachmei teda there were 4 sets of 10. One was chametz, and then you had 3 of matzah.
Who made it down?
It was called the lachmei teda, the lachmei of a korban teda. So that was a special korban. And the way it was brought, it was 10. One set of 10 was brought from chametz, and then the other 3 were from chales, and it was the rikikin, the vulches. So it was brought as 3 separate.
So what was the reason to bring it in Menochos?
Chales, rikikin, and revucha.
What was the reason?
The Torah says by the lachmei teda it has to be brought with 4 sets of 10 of chales. 10 chales was chametzdik, and then the other 3 mini matzahs were chales 10, rikikim wafers 10, and revuchas 10.
Like a 30 chalas.
40 chales altogether, and 10 was chametz. But Rabbi Yochanan was nestapik of Mao. What's going to be the din? Since over here you don't have. First of all, should I say? Look, it's just like all other. It's different minimum of lechem. So if you had a machshavas pigul by one, it doesn't automatically go on the other ones because there were different minim. Or should I say there was only one korban that was matter it? So that because one korban is matter all 40, it's really considered as one min. Masha Inkin by us, there's 2 kivsei atzeres, or there's by the kmitzah. Not only kmitzah, you also need the levena to be matter. Here was one korban, one zevach was matter all 40. So maybe it should be considered as one family because of the one mancha. Well, because of the one zevach. The same thing, minchas mafe. Mao. What's the din by minchas mafe? Somebody who gives an adova of minchas mafe, he brings 10 matzahs, like chales or like wafers. So there...
That was baked.
Huh?
It was baked.
It was baked, yes. It was 5 were chales and 5 were rikikim. It was 2 separate minim. So since it's 2 separate minim, we should consider it as 2 separate minim. Or since there was one kapara for both of them, one kaimetz, so I should say because it's one kaimetz that's being mat to both, so it's like one min. Rav Tachlif Marava said, so too will say that Rabbi Yossi will consider it as separate minim, and if you had a machshavas pigul by one, it won't automatically be a machshavas pigul by the other. Versus the Rabbanan will argue and say it's all one. Rabbanan, you learn if b'shas hashchita chishav lechel chatzi zayis from the meat, u'b'shas hazikin chishav lechel chatzi zayis. So again, b'shas hashchita you had in mind to eat a chatzi zayis of the meat. Lachazman, that's only a chatzi zayis during the avodah of shchita, and then by the avodah of zikah, he had another half a zayis in mind to eat it lachazman from the meat, from the whole meat, from the korban. But it was a chatzi zayis at a time. By each avodah, he by the first Aveda he said only chatzizayis by shchita, and then by zika he had another chatzizayis. So should we combine it to two half azayis to a full kazayis and make it into pigel? Mepnei shechita zika mitzdarfim, because the shchita and the zika.
So pingo was only bakazai, not a half.
It's the same piece by azayis. So, but he did by shchita, but it's one carbon, and you have to go through all the four avedas. So he's doing chatzizayis at a time. Shchita halbazayis, zika nach halbazayis, and it gets combined. Yeah, we say it's mitzvah. Ikadam is shchita zika tavai matir. Others say shchita zika. We say both are matir. Okay, but in aval kabbalah, but if he did it by kabbalah, one and had in mind when he was receiving the blood that a half a zayis of the meat I'll eat lachazman, and then by the halacha when at Yefit, the blood to mizbeach, he had another chatzi zayis in mind. So I'll say it's not mikar, it's not mitzvah. The others say no. Hanach the meracha those the shchita and the zika they're very far apart. The shchita is the beginning, zika is the end, and we said it's mitzvah. A koshkin hani the mekarven. Kabbalah halacha is right next to each other for sure. It's mitzvah. So that's how he finishes off. And the Braisa explains that the shchita zika is mitzvah. So if you want to eat it, it's mitzvah. Vatani Levi Abba Avedis ain't mitzvah is lepikul. How could you say that two the shchita and the zika is mitzvah? We have a befedish Braisa that says you can. It's ain't mitzvah. That the avedis of one chatzi zayis with the aveda of another will not. Shchita zika v'kabbalah do. If he had only a chatzizayis by one aveda and then another chatzizayis by another aveda, we say it's not mitzvah. Amar kasha, it's not a kasha. Ha Rebbe, ha Rabbanan. He says it's different. The Braisa, this Braisa is Levi, meaning that there's two avedas are not mitzvahs, follows the shita of Rebbe, and the Braisa that says it is mitzvah, the shita Rabbanan. Where do we see that? The time we learned in the Braisa, somebody who shechs the first shepsel of Shalmei Atzeres, lechol chatzi zayis mechalazu, to eat a half a zayis from this chala, v'chein chaveda, and then he shechs the second keves, chatzi zayis mechalazu, from the second chala. Rabbi Oima Anis shezeh kosher. I say it's not mitzvah and it's kosher. So that's what Rabbi says. It's not pigel because it's first of all it's a chatzi mater. He only was mater. He had machshavas pigel only on one of the kvasim. In order to become mater, you need both kvasim. And he also had a mind only for chatzi zayis. Abai said, even the shemata Rabbi, I could know when did Rabbi say that the two machshavas are not mitzdarif? Because v'chatzi achila, he says because we're talking about a chatzi shear and a chatzi matir. He was shachting one keves, which is a chatzi matir. You need two kvasim to be matir to shach, and he had in mind only a half zayis. How about kulei? If he had a kulei matir, if he had in mind by both kvasim by the shchita and the chatzi achila, and he had in mind a chatzi achila mishametlei. Did you hear that it's not mitzvah? Maybe it is mitzvah. If the swat is like Rebbe, every machshava that's kuli matar chatzi achila is mitzvah. So ligzer chatzi matar chatzi achila. So say even by chatzi matar, by one keves and chatzi achila should be at least also possible. Ought because of exeda kuli matar chatzi achila. Because of a kuli matar chatzi achila, you said it does combine to make it pigel. So are you going to say where do you find that we are geyser? The Rav Yossi Gaza, we find that Rav Yossi was geyser by a case where it wasn't really pigel, but because of a case that he might come to pigel. Where do we see that? He says Rav Yossi Gaza. Where do we see Rav Yossi was Gaza? It's not that we let Mishnah. If he made a kmitza, on the mincha lahakted loinasa macha to burn the levena the next day. So Rabbi Yossi, pas main by kares. It's possible there's no kares because the pigul was on one on the kmitza,
The whole thing.
and it was on the whole thing. And the pigul, I'm sorry, was on the levena, but the kmitza he had the Mashavas pigul by the kmitza. So we say possibly by kares. So why? One second. Pigul, the Chacham say it's pigul. V'chayam al kares. So even according to Rabbi Yossi, it's not really a Mashavas pigul, but he says the carbon is possible. It's not because it's two separate things. He by the kmitza he had a kavana for the k'neiros to be like Hadashkin kares. It's possible. In order that he shouldn't be matter, but when it's taka pigul, when he's koimetz al das lahagnis a koimetz atzmoi lemachar, there Rabbi Yossi said that's mamish pigul. So because of that, because he might the reason why he wasn't chayav, because when he did the kmitza he had in mind for the Toides, the levena to be makal lachazman. But if he did the kmitza with the kavanah of the kmitza lachazman, then it's mamish pigul. So that's why he passled even when he had in mind just for the levena during the kmitza. V'chein the rabbanon guys we say also by the rabbanon hagayzer the Tanam learned in the Mishnah pigul by koimetz. If he had a machshavas pigul during that burning the koimetz, v'loy balavena, and he didn't think so by the aktas levena, and so too the reverse, that he had in mind only balavena by the aktas levena v'loy by koimetz, and he didn't have the machshavas pigul by the koimetz. Rabbi Meir ima pigul v'chayab malay kares. Rabbi Meir says it's pigul and you chayav kares. V'chamei ein by kares achi yifagel. Till that there'll be a Mashavas pigul bechol amata. You need, in order to become pigul, it has to be the whole mata. What's the whole mata? The koimetz and the levena together are mata. But if you only had in mind by one, it's not going to be pigul. But he says it's possible because just in case it's going to be by a whole amata. Amalei. So Abai answered to Avchanam Hachi Hashna. Could you compare the two? Bishlem Hasam. By the first dogma, Gaza Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi passed the mincha in a case where he had a machshava during burning the koimetz for the levena. Why? After koimetz the mincha, because of a koimetz that he might have a kavana by kmitza during the avodah of kmitza to do the kmitza lachazman, which is not pigul. Rabbanon Gazi koimetz, even without the aktaras halavena, after koimetz the mincha's chayta. Because by a minchas chayta we find that there is no levena, so therefore we were afraid, even though it's not a whole matir, you don't have the kemitz and levena here, but they said it's going to be possible because by minchas chayta he might, if we say it's not pigul, we'll say that minchas chayta it's not going to be pigul, and really there's no levena. The kemitz is the whole davar matir. Ulevena, and by levena to levena above the vesichin. And by levena, if it was without the kmitza, it's going to be apostle. If he had a mind lachazman, because we find that the levena itself was brought by the baziche, the two spoons that were. You need a shnei baziche, and it's lekvasim nami by the kivsei atzeres. It's also royal ligzer to pass a machshavas pigul when he shachs one keves. Otu keves chaveda, because the second keves, meaning both of them, you have to be geyser bazach otu bazach, the one bazach because of the bazach of the second bazach chaveda of the second one that'll have in mind based haktar shnei abazichin. So by each of these cases you need it because in order not to be matir a case a pigul, which is a similar case to this one, which is not going to be pigul, but we're going to because of a similar case. But over here, here you have Sai Chatzi Amatir. He's only makiv, he had the kavanah by one shchita, by one keves. You need two kvasim to be mater. And what was the pigul about? A chatzi shir, a chatzi zayis. Yeah, that we don't find a similar case. So he says, do we find a similar case by a chatzi mata and a chatzi achila elsewhere, the lake Maligzer, that we should make a gzeda? So you want to hakanam mistava. So too, it's reasonable to say that the reason of the chacham that they were goyzer that should be possible in all of the above mentioned cases because he shouldn't come to a similar case where it would be pigul. The Ketani Sefer, because the Mishnah says, we're finished in the Sefer, after he brings the machlokes of Chacham and Rameya, and again to the machshava b'zman ha'aktara of the kaimetz and not the levina. He only had a machshava pigul on the kaimetz. But Chacham and Rameya b'minchas chayta b'minchas kenois shim pigul b'kaimetz shahapigul the chayam shahapigul chal v'chayam malay kares. By minchas chayta there's no levina, even though normally the Chacham here. The Chacham shouldn't have made it pigul because he's missing the component of levena to be mater. But there's by a minchas chayta where there's no levena, so we have to be geyser. V'hakaimetz hu amater. The kaimetz is the only thing that's mater by minchas kaina, by a minchas chayta and a minchas kanos. In fact, why does the Mishnah have to teach us this at all? Shita, it's a pashta zach mi'ika mata achlina. Is there any other thing that's mater? Meaning, from an open passage that we say that the levena is not. We know there's no levena by minchas chayta or by a mincha from kanois. It says rather the Mishnah is coming to teach us the time or the kaimetz, the whole reason of the chacham and the reish of the Mishnah by a kaimetz stam mincha, where he had a machshavas pigul while he was burning the ketores, and he didn't have. While he was burning the levena, that the minchas psula, mishum deika kaimetz the minchas chayta the daimalei, only because of a case that is similar, a mincha that's similar, but where there is only going to be kmitza to be materit without levena.